In Lesson 7, we're going to be working with type. We've done quite a bit of preparation work to get ready to understand typography and how it works. We'll be looking at page 195. This is what the finished file will look like. It's always nice to kind of watch this. And in fact, this first section that we work on, I had to kind of go back and make it look like this, make it fit. So I am going to open the file called L7 Start. So we've got kind of a basic shape to work with. And of course you'll want to save this. It says on page 196 issue underscore poster. We have a line here, a box here already drawn that's going to hold our text. Using the text tool icon, click it, and we're going to click in the square and just drag a box the size of the square, and that's where the text will go into when we place it. Rather than copying and pasting text, go into File and Place. This will bring you hopefully back to the area where you can find the text file. The one that we want is called L7 Copy, and click Place. And then just click OK on the text import options. That puts the text in our box. The next thing we want to do is to put this into columns. There is a type menu word that we'll use quite a bit. So under type and area, type options, just meaning the options that apply to this area of text. Change it to 2 columns right here and click OK. So now we have the text into 2 columns. You can adjust the spacing between the columns. You could make it more than 1 column. There's quite a bit of things that you can do. On page 199 it talks a little bit about gutter. The gutter is the width of this space between the columns. And then on page 200 over to 205 there was another exercise that you were to do. It's called the text box exercise. So we're starting again with this exercise on the bottom of page 205. So we want to select all of the text in our text box. We're going to look at several different ways to change the text font. In our control panel, you've got everything that relates to text because that's what we have selected. Here is one way we can look at text choices, font choices, and it wants us to go to Times New Roman. We're going to leave it at regular and 12 point, but this is also where you could change those things. Another place to change it is under Type and Font at the top. This one sometimes is a better choice to look at because you've got the preview of what that font looks like. The book asks us to use either Arial Regular or Helvetica. For some reason, our Illustrator does not have Helvetica, even though that's Karen's favorite choice, Karen from the videos. So we're going to go to Arial and Regular. The other choices here, like narrow, would make the letters a little bit more narrow. If you are tight on space by just a little bit, you can use that and get more words in a box. So choose the regular, which changes that. And of course you also know that we can change text by just typing in a letter up here. We want to look for Myriad Pro and change it to Myriad Pro if you wanted to do that. We have our size at 12. Now we're going to just change some of the color of the fonts. So we're going to select this first line And sometimes when it wants to select more than one, I've got everything selected but the last two letters. If you hold the Shift key down and your cursor arrows, you can select one letter at a time. We want to first of all make this a 14-point font because it's a little bit bigger. Make it bold rather than regular. And we want to make the fill color white. Now this is a text box that we need to be, or window that we need to be familiar with. On the control panel you actually have several words that are underlined, and the one we're going to look at right now is character. We have looked at this once after the video, but character, and there's a diagram of this on page 209 in the book so that you would know what each one of these boxes refers to. Of course, the top one is the font size, or the font style, I'm sorry, or the font family name. This is the style, bold, italics, underline. And then we get down to these boxes. This one, of course, is the point size, and she explained that in the video. This one is called the leading. The leading, and it has a little picture that illustrates what this is. In Word, we would just call this single space 1.5, double space. It's a space between the lines, but it's called leading in Photoshop or an Illustrator or desktop publishing software. Over here on the side, this is called kerning, and kerning is literally the spacing between two letters. It's not between an entire line, it's just between two letters. Typography does get pretty detailed, so sometimes you do want to bring just two letters closer together. The kerning right next to it, or excuse me, the tracking is spreading out the space between an entire line of letters, whereas that one's just between two letters. This one would spread it out in the whole letter, or a whole line. The one that makes the T look a little fatter is exactly that. It's to make the letters wider going horizontally, and this one is to make the letters wider going vertically. Vertical scale is our K, or excuse me, we already talked about that one. This one is moving it above the baseline. We learned what the baseline was in the video. That's the bottom of the line. So there are times when you want to move the letters a little bit above, and then rotation of the letters. So that's one that you'll need to get used to using. Okay, we also want to look at the one that's called paragraph. And in paragraph, you're going to increase the spacing before the paragraph. So we're going to make this 6 points. You can do this in Word as well when you're going to put just a little bit more space before. Now under paragraph, we want to title this one as a new style, so we won't have to do this every time we want to put this in a section of text. So click the new, and this one is going to be called subhead. So now that it's created, we can apply that to other sections of text. And I'm actually going to bring this up a little bit bigger so I can see it better to show you. Whoops. Okay. I've got my book laying on top of my keyboard, so that's my problem here. Okay. So next we're going to select So now we're going to select throw away your old tired shoes. Select that and then just apply this new subhead to it. Right now we're going to find Sammy's Shoe World. Select that one. Change it to bold. And the fill color is going to be a red swatch. Whoops, I did bold italics. I just need bold. This one we're going to save as a character style, very similar to what we did with the paragraph style. So I just click the new style. This one is going to be called bold. And OK. And we also want to apply this one to this URL at the bottom. So you can click it. If we want to change that, we can double click and open it up, and the color, character color, it wants us to change it to Mars Red. Let me find the Mars Red right there, a little bit darker. Okay, now look for special orders. This is in parentheses, kind of on this in this first column. Special orders. Change the fill color to white. And it's going to be italics. In the next column, highlight the checkout, the two on sale. We're going to, while this is selected, take our eyedropper and pick up the font choices from there. Looks like I missed something over here. We also want "We Are All Over the Place." And this one is in a paragraph style for the subheading. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to put this shoe, if you're looking on page 214, we have a shoe that we're going to put in the middle of this text. And that's another file, so I'm going to open the one that says shoe. We're simply going to copy this shoe, and you don't need that file open, and paste it in here. The shoe we're going to change to white fill, and we're going to change the opacity down to 30%. There's a lot of things you can do with a graphic and text. Right now it is behind the text. When we have text going around an object, it's called text wrapping, and there is a lot of different options for text wrapping. We want to go into the menu word Object and Text Wrap and Make. This literally just moves the text around it, but we can also kind of play with where we want the text wrap to go by going back into that same place and looking at text wrap options. We're going to make this 16 points and OK. Now what I found, and you may find the same thing, is that when I did all of this, my text no longer fits in the box. You can tell that because I've got my little red square at the bottom with the plus in it. For this, I went and looked back at the sample to see what I needed to adjust, because obviously this one fits. and all the text is on the page. So what I need to do is just to figure out where I can pick up some extra space here so that it all fits. I'm going to drag this down a little bit more. I'm very close to having it all on there. I could also adjust the size of the shoe. That might be a better option. But just play around with it until everything fits again on your page. We are now going to work on the rest of the poster. Oops. And in order to do that, we're going to back up a little bit. So we're going to move to this top section. Choosing the Type tool, we're going to select Myriad Pro for our font family. This is going to be big, so we're going to change our font size to 85 points. We want to actually select our people and lock them, so go to Object Lock because we don't want them to be moving while we're doing text over them. With our text tool, then click up here above. That's probably a little too high, but we can adjust it. Kick it up, if I can type. I think we're supposed to have that bold, so let's change it to bold. And we need to move it down some if yours is in a different place. So it's just kind of centered above the people. Now with it selected with the selection tool, not the text tool, we're going to change the effect of this. So go into the effect and warp and arc upper. We can turn on the preview, but we're going to just leave it at the default settings. Looks like I need to move it down a little bit more because now it's going off my page. Back to our text tool, we are going to change the fill color to white. And the stroke we're going to make pumpkin color. We've used pumpkin before. And make it 2 point, a little bit heavier. So it's kind of a nice look. We also want to select it and put a drop shadow. So to do that, we go into Effect, Stylize, and Drop Shadow. Again, we could play around with this, but we're just going to take the default settings. There's this path here, and we're going to do some typing on a path. You've done some of this already. Change our font to 36 point. I believe we're still at bold. And when we have the text key selected, we'll get to the path and click on it. It turns it into our Type on a Path tool. Got my type, don't just stand there. Dot, dot, dot. We want this one to be filled with white. Doesn't really say about the stroke panel. The next thing we're going to work on is this world down at the bottom left corner. We're going to do some more typing on a path. Taking your text tool, hold the Alt key down and click on the path. Before you type, be sure to go up here and make it align center, and we want 24 point and bold. So make it bold. This is going to say in all caps, Sammy's Shoe World. Now to adjust this, we're going to take the selection tool, and you can see this little line that's kind of in the middle. When you get over it, it gives you that little upside down T. We can use that to move the text around to the top, because that's where we would like it. Now move out onto the scratch board and take your text tool, click anywhere. We're going to type walk. I need this all caps again. Run, dance. This is going to be big, but right now we're going to just rotate it. So click the rotate and 90 degrees. Oops, now where did it go? There it is. Uh-oh, I've got it in the middle. Let me undo that. After you have rotated it 90%, we're going to drag it over here and do some things with it. So kind of put it in this lower left corner. We really don't want it to be centered anymore. So we're going to just change the font size by dragging it, holding the Shift key down. And this is going to kind of be just looking at what we think it should be. We'll have to put it behind for it to be able to stretch a little bit bigger. Go to Object, Arrange, and let's just say Send Backward. Now I can move it down here, stretch it out the size I want it. In the Control panel, we want to make the fill white. Take the opacity down to 75% and change the effect here to soft light, which makes it kind of just a faint color behind it. And then go into Type and create outlines. Now the last thing you'll probably want to do is to take this box off that's kind of our guide. So if you open up the layers, and I believe it was that one. Yep, that's the one. And then you're finished. You can save it and put it in your Dropbox.